Hi guys, it's Mark Zicree, Mr. Sci-Fi, also known as Mark Zicree of Space Command, and in this case, Mr. Politics, because a number of my followers and admirers and so forth have asked me to do a few Mr. Politics videos. So over the next few days, I'll be doing a few videos checking in on a few subjects. This is the one I'm going to do right now. Stop the steal. Stop the steal! So you have all these people claiming that the election was stolen. But here's some things that might be useful for them to know. First of all, there's this guy named Roger Stone, and he's a huge trickster, dirty tricks kind of guy. He has Nixon tattooed on his back. Nixon, for those of you who did not grow up with Nixon, as I did, Nixon was a racist thug and had virtually no scruples, held a grudge, was willing to harm other people to advance himself. Just a really totally hideous guy, okay? Just to let you know. I mean, I was there, okay? So he encouraged construction workers to beat up protesters. Lots of wonderful stuff that this guy did. Anyway, so Roger Stone loves Nixon, is an admirer of Nixon, all that stuff came up through Nixon. So now he's working with Trump. Now, stop the steal was an idea he came up with as a phrase back in 2016, because they were assuming, naturally, that someone as incompetent as Trump would not possibly win against Hillary Clinton, who, had been the First Lady, had been, a senator, had been the head of the State Department, Secretary of State, Donald Trump. Okay, but so they planted the seeds to stop the steal. Their idea was that obviously he was going to lose. Then they would claim that the election was stolen and use that to build adherence, to foster the lie that the election had been rigged, and to raise more money. But of course they were surprised, and Trump won the electoral vote, and he suddenly was president. So Roger Stone continued his various nefarious dealings in the world and ended up in prison, right? So 2020 is coming. Trump wants to reactivate Stop the Steal, but he's going to need Roger Stone to help him pursue this line of disinformation. And so he pardons Roger Stone, so Roger Stone can come out and help lead the Stop the Steal campaign, which he does. So he starts, Roger Stone starts, his people start communicating with websites and so forth to put out radical right craziness, and essentially they start this campaign. Now, despite the fact that the military did not agree with this, that the politicians did not agree with this, this was the closest we'd come to an overthrow of the government, what Trump tried to do. And I don't think there was a single day of his presidency where he did not commit a felony of one kind or another. But certainly pardoning a crony to run a campaign in an attempt to overthrow the government, by my lights, that qualifies as a misuse of presidential power, though one could actually also call it treason. And whether or not he's a operative of Vladimir Putin, he certainly was in Putin's pocket. Putin certainly had dirt on him, So anyway, so basically my point about all of this is Stop the Steal was long planned, and of course it only works if you lose the election, because you're not going to say the election was stolen if you won. But they were planning that way back in 2016. So, Roger Stone is a terrible person, and Trump, of course, is a terrible person. And it amazes me that anyone works with Trump, because if they notice, pretty much everyone who works with him one time or another ends up in prison. And because he's not president right now, nor dictator, he can't pardon those people. So here's the whole point of all of this. Why do Stop the Steal? Why is it vital if you lose an election to activate that? What really makes it work? Here's what makes it work. If you, the insurrection, the attack on the Capitol, I think some of those people were rightist, racist, extreme right, fascist, thug people, violent people like to beat up people. But I don't think that was all of them. And I think part of it is that it's deeply ingrained in the American history and the American personality that we fight for our liberty, that if we're oppressed, if we're not represented, if we don't have a say in our election or in our taxes, well, then we rise up and we set things right. That's the American experiment. That's the American experience. And so if you tell people that the election has been stolen, And if you get enough people to say this lie, then you have all these people go to Washington saying, we're going to save the election. We're going to, hang these traitors and get the rightful president put back in office. And most of the people who were feeling that way, most of the people who still feel that way, it isn't because they're traitors. It's because they've been lied to by a traitor, by a number of traitors. And I think if all those lawyers who are espousing that lie until they got into a courtroom and had to say, no, we know it's not true, should they be disbarred? Of course they should be disbarred. Anyone who was promulgating a lie with the intent of overthrowing the rightfully elected government should be in prison. They absolutely should be in prison, because democracy is a fragile and important, radically important thing. It is, if you don't have the right to vote, it doesn't matter how much you protest, it doesn't matter how much you complain, you get nowhere. And that's why I think, for instance, the filibuster should be thrown out. I think it's vital that everyone have their vote. And I think that the people who are trying to steal votes from people by making it harder to vote, those people are not friends of our democracy at all. With anyone who's black, who's Latino, who's poor, anyone who's disenfranchised, people who formerly were in prison, the homeless, anyone, the Constitution guarantees equal rights. What equal rights means is that you wake up in the day and you go through your day and you're treated like everybody else. You are not hassled by the cops because of the color of your skin. You're not shot by the cops because of the color of your skin. You're allowed to vote. When I go to vote, it usually takes me a matter of minutes. And yet you have people standing in line 6 hours, 8 hours. And now the laws are saying, well, you can't give them food or water. I mean, come on. Who are they kidding? They're disenfranchising a lot of people so that the minority party, and by that I mean the party that has the fewer voters, can win. It's not the way to play the game. It's not, there are no rules. There are rules, but you have to back the rules up with law, and law should be enforced. So that's sort of the progression of this. But again, when you listen to the people talking about why they were angry, why they believe the thing was stolen, listen to what they're saying. The American spirit wants a fair shake. I personally believe that the majority of Americans have a good heart, want everyone to be treated appropriately and well, but they're lied to, and as a result of that, if they believe the lie, then terrible things can happen. So, and to my friends on the right who disagree vehemently with my opinions, here's what I would say. If you find yourself listening to fewer and fewer people, listening to fewer and fewer experts. So, for instance, a number of people on the right, they stopped listening to CNN, and then they got angry at Fox and stopped listening to Fox. And then they start just listening to people on the internet, and because the internet is the great equalizer, it all feels like TV shows. And those older people who grew up with TV shows, we believed what was said on television. So if you find yourself becoming more and more and more part of a smaller and smaller information source, or if the people who are giving you information really haven't got, any kind of valid credentials, really check that out, really look at it, because, I promise you, if you get the vaccination, you won't be magnetized, okay? And if you were magnetized, well, that'd be kind of a cool power, but there's a lot of nonsense out there, and all of us have to fall for it and have to believe it. So anyway, that's a little bit of it, a little rambling, but we'll be talking soon about Afghanistan. We'll be talking soon about a lot of stuff. So just kind of hang in there. Subscribe to Mr. Politics. Subscribe to Mr. Sci-Fi. Support us at Patreon if you can. And but again, don't believe disinformation. Don't believe the lie. I admire enormously people on the right who stood up for the truth. People on the right who said, this is not true what is being said. I wish there were more people of courage on that side of the aisle, but, you know, comes with the territory. So, talk to y'all soon. Bye, guys.